Jeremy Clarkson was fired by Amazon for the abhorrent article he wrote about Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Now, the question is, ITV, what are you going to do now? How much shame can you endure as a result of Jeremy Clarkson? It's time to do something. Today on Instagram, Jeremy Clarkson said he emailed the Sussexes on Christmas Day to say his language in the Sun column had been disgraceful and he was profoundly sorry. Jeremy, are you sorry because you got fired from Amazon? Or are you sorry about the hate article that you wrote about the Duchess of Sussex? Today on Twitter, Omid Scobie reported that a spokesperson for Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has responded to Jeremy Clarkson's Instagram apology posted earlier today and addressed his claim that he emailed the couple in December. Here is what the Sussexes had to say. On December 25th, 2022, Mr. Clarkson wrote solely to Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. The contents of his correspondence were marked private and confidential. While a new public apology has been issued today by Mr. Clarkson, what remains to be addressed is his long-standing pattern of writing articles that spread hate rhetoric, dangerous conspiracy theories, and misogyny. Unless each of his other pieces were also written in a hurry, as he states, it is clear that this is not an isolated incident shared in haste, but rather a series of articles shared in hate. Jeremy, the Sussexes are not buying your story. They have certainly recognized your pattern of hate, and your apology is not sincere unless you apologize for the other articles. Just in case you forgot about the abhorrent article written about Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, by Clarkson, here is a couple of excerpts. He wrote, "At night, I'm unable to sleep as I lie there, grinding my teeth and dreaming of the day when she, Meghan, is made to parade naked through the streets of every town in Britain, while the crowds chant, 'Shame!' and throw lumps of excrement at her." Wow, every time I read this, it makes my blood boil. He also said, "Everyone who's my age thinks the same way." No, Jeremy, they do not. That's the reason why you were condemned. He also added, "But what makes me despair is that younger people, especially girls, think she's pretty cool. They think she was a prisoner of Buckingham Palace, forced to talk about nothing but embroidery and kittens." If Clarkson believes that his article was appropriate, well, the public certainly did not agree. Because Clarkson's article became the Independent Press Standards Organization's most complained about article, receiving in excess of 20,000 complaints. Not only was the public disgusted by Jeremy's article, but conservative MP Caroline Noakes wrote a letter to the Sun editor Victoria Newton calling for action against Mr. Clarkson and an unreserved apology to be issued to the Duchess. To bolster her case, the letter that was written to the Sun's editor, Victoria Newton, was signed by more than 60 MPs. The pressure was on by the public and the PMs, prompting Clarkson to release a statement before Christmas saying he was horrified to have caused so much hurt. In the complete statement on Twitter by Jeremy Clarkson, he said, "Oh dear, I've rather put my foot in it. In a column I wrote about Meghan, I made a clumsy reference to a scene in Game of Thrones, and this has gone down badly with a great many people. I'm horrified to have caused so much hurt, and I shall be more careful in the future." Jeremy, how many articles have you written like this? The public was not moved. The apology was dismissed as being too little, too late, and insincere. I strongly agree. A few days later, the Sun newspaper followed up saying it regrets publishing a Jeremy Clarkson column about the Duchess of Sussex and is sincerely sorry. I really doubt that the Sun is sorry, because for years, this is the way the Sun writes its article about people in a derogative way, and it just so happened that we have the Sussex squad who is watching everything that they're doing and put them on blast. They further said that columnist opinions were their own, and as a publisher with free expression comes responsibility. Well, I'll be damned. Where is the responsibility here? Should this article have ever passed by the editor's desk and not be flagged? That's my question. In place of the article, the Sun's website now has a copy of the tweet from Clarkson in which he said he was horrified to have caused so much hurt and would be more careful in the future. We, the Sussex squad, we do not buy it. If the Sun was truly sincere, they would have fired Jeremy Clarkson a long time ago. No, but hate is profitable to the Sun. Wow, the standards in England are very low. Jeremy Clarkson, who still works for the Sun and for ITV, has not been fired by both companies. However, Amazon, who's an American company, has taken a stance and fired Jeremy because they do not subscribe to hate. I wonder what ITV and the Sun subscribes to. I guess ITV's standards are very low because though MP John Nicholson, who sits on the Digital, Culture, Media and Sport Committee, has written to the Chief Executive of ITV, Dame Carolyn McCall, asking for Mr. Clarkson to be removed as a host of a quiz show. They still have not done so. Instead, Kevin Lygo, ITV's media and entertainment boss, described the comments made by Clarkson as awful, but said there were no plans to replace him as host of the game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Mr. Lygo went on to say he had no control over what Mr. Clarkson wrote on his newspaper columns and that Clarkson's comment did not represent ITV's values. Well, I beg to differ, Mr. Lygo, because birds of a feather flock together. The people who you keep around you says a lot about you. If Clarkson is a hater, then quite probably you're a hater too. Mr. Lygo had the audacity to say, "We hire him as a consummate broadcaster of the most famous quiz on television, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So it's not quite in our wheelhouse, but I don't know what he was thinking when he wrote that. It was awful." MP Nicholas had also written to Amazon, which broadcasts Clarkson's farm and grand tours. Cream always rises to the top. Thanks, Amazon, for doing the right thing, for firing Jeremy Clarkson and having standards unlike your counterparts in the United Kingdom. And by the way, Jeff Bezos, you have definitely showed Elon Musk how to do business. He's a perpetual hater. ITV, the question here is, Amazon does not believe Clarkson represents their brand. Now, do you, ITV, believe that Clarkson represents your brand? If no, you would have fired him a long time ago. If yes, you would have held on to him, which is what you've done. So, does your brand represent hate and vitriol? While Jeremy Clarkson, the Sun, ITV, and their associates exposes their hate and quietly implodes, the Sussexes has been quietly observing their actions and that of Jeremy Clarkson. The Sussexes' response to the Sun's apology. The fact that the Sun has not contacted the Duchess of Sussex to apologize shows their intent. One headline said, Harry and Meghan called the Sun's apology for Jeremy Clarkson's column a PR stunt. The Sussexes responded with a full statement saying, while the public absolutely deserves the publication's regrets for their dangerous comments, we wouldn't be in this situation if the Sun did not continue to profit off of and exploit hate, violence, and misogyny. A true apology would be a shift in their coverage and ethical standards for all. Unfortunately, we're not holding our breath. Prince Harry has described the article during his promotional book tour as horrific and hurtful and cruel. Here's what Clarkson had to say, rearing his ugly head on Instagram with a cynical and insincere apology to the Duchess and the world. This is what Jeremy said. One of the strange things I've noticed in recent times is that whenever an MP or well-known person is asked to apologize for something, no matter how heartfelt or profound that apology may be, it's never enough for the people who called for it in the first place. So, I'm going to try and buck the trend this morning with an apology for the things I've said in a Sun column recently about Meghan Markle. I really am sorry, all the way from the balls of my feet to the follicles of my head. This is me putting my hands up. It's a mea culpa with bells on. Usually, I read what I've written to someone else before filing, but I was home alone on that fateful day and in a hurry. So when I'd finished, I just pressed send, and then when the column appeared the next day, the line mine exploded. It was a slow rumble to start with, and I ignored it, but then the rumble got louder, so I picked up a copy of The Sun to see what all the fuss was about. We've all been there, I guess, in that precise moment when we suddenly realize we've completely messed up. You're sweaty and cold at the same time, and your head pounds, and you feel sick. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Had I really said that? It was horrible. Yes, Jeremy, you really said that. Stop acting like you had an out-of-body experience. Stop acting that somebody came into you and wrote this article. Take accountability. I knew what had happened straight away. I'd been thinking of a scene in Game of Thrones, but I'd forgotten to mention this. So it looked like I was actually calling for revolting violence to rain down on Meghan's head. I was very angry with myself because in all those controversial days in Top Gear, when I was accused of all sorts of things, it was very rarely sexism. We never did women can park gags, for instance, or suggested that powerful cars were only for men, and I was thrilled when Jodie Kidd and Ellen MacArthur said fastest ever laps in our reasonable priced car. I'm just not sexist, and I abhor violence against women, and yet I seemed to be advocating just that. I was mortified, and so was everyone else. My phone went mad. Very close friends were furious. Even my own daughter took to Instagram to denounce me. The Sun quickly apologized. No, the Sun did not quickly apologize, Jeremy. And I tried to explain myself, but still there were calls for me to be sacked and charged with a hate crime. More than 60 MPs demanded action to be taken. ITV, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Amazon, who make the Farm Show and the Grand Tour, were incandescent. I therefore wrote to everyone who works with me saying how sorry I was. Then on Christmas morning, I emailed Harry and Meghan in California to apologize to them too. Wow, Jeremy, you'd like us to believe that you're sorry, writing on Christmas morning like some little kid that made a mistake and he was writing to Santa asking for forgiveness. No, you're a grown man. You knew what you were doing. I said I was baffled by what they had been saying on TV, but that the language I used in my column was disgraceful and that I was profoundly sorry. Yes, Jeremy, the language that you used was disgraceful, and stop acting like you didn't rewrite and write and write until you got it correct. Stop acting like somebody forced you to write this abhorrent article. Over the last 30 years, I've written very nearly 5,000 newspaper and magazine columns, so it was inevitable that one day I'd do a hurricane and sky one of the damn things, which is what happened with the piece about Meghan. Really, Jeremy, you would really want us to believe that you did a hurried up job? I don't buy it for 1 second. So I can move on now? Not sure. It's hard to be interesting and vigilant at the same time. You never hear peals of laughter coming from a health and safety seminar. But I promise you this, I will try. Jeremy, you're making light of the situation. A responsible person is always a vigilant person. A responsible person is constantly using metacognition, thinking constantly to themselves, are they doing the right thing? Who knows, very soon now I shall be a grandfather, so in future, maybe I'll just write about that. Jeremy, I don't know who is going to read any article that you write about children and being a grandfather, except for people who's just like you, who's as hateful as you. I certainly wouldn't be reading anything that you write. There's too much hate in your heart. Jeremy is yet again not taking responsibility for his action. He's behaving like he made an unconscious mistake. It is really pathetic. My conclusion is that the man is sick, because how can you write an article that is grammatically sound and not realize the things that you were putting in it was vitriol? It makes no sense to me. The man is sick. Let's not forget the luncheon that Camilla, the Queen Consort, attended with Jeremy Clarkson days before the article. I wonder if Jeremy is willing to give up his livelihood, his job at Amazon, and possibly at ITV for Camilla, who is living in a castle. Jeremy, what say you? Clarkson's friendship and Camilla go way back. Listen as he talks about her with such joy.
Do you know the Duchess very well?
Yes, I think we get on very well. We used to go and, perhaps I shouldn't say this, but we used to go and sneak a crafty fag round the back of things. But I don't smoke anymore, so...
Do you know, does she?
I think she might sneak a crafty one in occasionally, but I mean, listen, you'd have to ask her.
Stay tuned to see if Clarkson throws Camilla under the bus, or whether we're going to see gossip payments to Clarkson on other members of the royal family from Camilla. Remember, she still has a reputation to clean up.